The American Nightmare, the former AEW Executive Vice President and former two-time TNT champion, Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, I should say, is finally making his return, albeit very unexpectedly, to the WWE. According to a report from PW Insider, Mike Johnson has reported that Cody Rhodes had already signed a contract to return to WWE, and he just put pen to paper about 10 to 14 days ago. The plan right now is to re-debut Cody Rhodes during WrestleMania 38 weekend. This would line up with the report from Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer, who has been speculating and hinting at that as of late. Now, following this, another report had just recently come out about less than 24 hours ago, speculating that Rhodes would be held off until the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania. Now, throughout the years, the Raw after WrestleMania has always been home to returns, debuts, re-debuts, and some of the biggest surprises of the year, catapulting us into the next WrestleMania season. However, I believe that debuting him at WrestleMania or the weekend of WrestleMania would be that much bigger. Not only does WrestleMania take place from Dallas, Texas, which is the hometown of his father, WWE legend, the American Dream Dusty Rhodes, which Raw would take place from the same location, but re-debuting him on the quote-unquote grandest stage of them all in the hometown of his father would just be icing on the cake to a return that fans never speculated would happen after what Cody Rhodes did by starting off All Elite Wrestling as one of the executive vice presidents. The first official event to take place under the AEW banner was titled Double or Nothing, which took place in the summer of 2019. And the main event was a battle of the Rhodes family, Dustin versus Cody. But it wasn't just the match in the main event with brother versus brother. It was the entrance, and the extravagant one at that Cody Rhodes came out to. While Brandy was standing on the stage holding a sledgehammer, Cody Rhodes would come out and grab the sledgehammer while bashing a quote-unquote king's throne. This would obviously go on to symbolize Triple H, the King of Kings, and the powers that be in the WWE, and how Cody Rhodes was going to smash through the competition and become the top wrestling promotion in the world. Going over some of Rhodes' best work in All Elite Wrestling, most of his best work was done as the AEW TNT champion. He used the belt to catapult the likes of Darby Allin into superstardom. Aside from Darby Allin, you can use the likes of the late, great, now passed on Brody Lee, rest in peace Brody Lee, and also Malachi Black, although he did not have the TNT title at the time, but the dominating fashion in which Black was able to defeat Rhodes really put a stamp on his arrival in AEW. Now, Cody's last big rival in his career in All Elite Wrestling was actually the man he battled in the first episode of AEW Dynamite in Sammy Guevara, the Spanish God. Guevara and Rhodes put on one of the best ladder matches in professional wrestling history, culminating with Guevara hitting a cutter, jumping from one ladder to the next down to the mat, then climbing back up to the top of the ladder and retrieving both belts to become the undisputed TNT champion. So, beating his first rival in All Elite Wrestling in one of his rival's last matches in the company was just icing on the cake to some of the best storytelling in professional wrestling that AEW has become known for. So the question now is, what's next? Who's first up for Cody Rhodes' WWE return? And will it take place on night 2 of WrestleMania 38? Or will he debut the night after WrestleMania on Monday Night Raw? Either way, we don't know, but we do know who the first feud is going to be against. He will be returning on the Monday Night Raw brand as confirmed by multiple reports, and his first opponent will be none other than Seth freaking Rollins, the former Monday Night Messiah and the man who currently has no direction for WrestleMania, no opponent. So the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes in his return fits the bill perfectly. Originally, it was scheduled to be Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens teaming up to potentially go up against RK-Bro for the tag team titles, but those plans seemed to fizzle out as Stone Cold Steve Austin will be making his return as a guest on the Kevin Owens Show, or the KO Show, alongside Kevin Owens, the man who reinvigorated the usage of the stunner, speaking with the man who invented the stunner in Stone Cold Steve Austin. Believe it or not, there is a bit of backstory for Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, as Cody Rhodes alongside Goldust actually defeated Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns for the tag team championships in one of Rhodes' best matches in the company. And now, almost 8 years later, Seth Rollins seems to be the first feud for Cody Rhodes in his return to the WWE. And honestly, there couldn't be a better fit. Rollins versus Rhodes is the quintessential AEW versus WWE crossover match that fans have been dreaming about since the creation of All Elite Wrestling. But now it doesn't have to be a crossover event, but maybe in the fans' minds, that's exactly what it is. One of the biggest stars in the WWE currently, in Seth Rollins, going up against the creator and one of the biggest stars in All Elite Wrestling, making his return to the breeding grounds where he started his professional wrestling career. The Monday Night Messiah versus the American Nightmare, Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes, looks to be the next step in Rhodes' WWE journey. Will it all come burning down, or will Rhodes create a sense of smoke and mirrors in his return? It's only a matter of time before we find out. But don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit a crossroads on that like button.